Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. So let's talk. All right. Wow. Um, it's been a while since we've had a conversation about border and immigrants coming over here. I was reading something a few weeks ago, and it said there was a caravan of immigrants that was supposed to be coming towards our border soon. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, why people still think America is the place to run to? Did they not get the memo of what's going on over here right now? I mean, I can understand at one point, yeah, you definitely can come over here and you definitely can find an opportunity somewhere and you can build on something if you really have a strong enough work ethic and you go about it the right way. But I mean, realistically, if you're sneaking into the country, I mean, how much do you really think you can accomplish? And how bad is it where they're from that they feel like they would risk their life and limb to come over here on a chance? They don't know that what they're being told about the United States is true or not. They're being sold a dream. And, you have to be in a certain place of desperation to, like I said, risk your life and your health and your family as well to try to cross the border and sneak into this country where immigrants are being shot in record numbers by, people who feel like they shouldn't be here. We'll just say that. And so I'm just trying to figure out at what point did these people say, hey, I'm going to risk it and I'm going to take my child to America because I feel like they'll have a better chance there. It's not cartels over here that's killing you, it's just regular everyday people. Somebody decide that some brown or some black people or some gay people or some Jewish people don't need to be here, and they go pick up their weapon and they just go pick out a spot and start blast, like down in El Paso. Um, my man Beto O'Rourke was down there. This was a few years ago, and that's exactly what happened. Somebody who was hyped up off of a certain president's rhetoric decided to go and pick up a weapon and went and shot up a whole bunch of brown people because he felt like the border needed to be secured and a message needed to be sent to those people to deter them from coming to the United States. And so I wonder if they're getting these types of stories before they decide to make their trip to the United States. Because of, the stories that we hear about other countries and stuff like that. And there's certain countries that we would think really, really long and hard before we would go to those countries based off of the reputation that that country has and the image of that country that's been painted to us as Americans. So you can imagine the image that's been painted to these refugees, and I can't say that um, they're all from Mexico because Mexico is just the place that they come through to get to the border to the United States a lot of times because a lot of people not going to be coming through Canada like that. Some will take the risk to fly if they are able to pay for the proper paperwork. But yeah, man, I don't believe that they're getting the proper story of the United States now, and they're being sold a dream by these traffickers. Because I just saw a story this morning about uh, it was a 18 wheeler that was found in San Antonio. 46 people were dead in the trailer of that 18 wheeler, and 16 more people were hospitalized. And I'm assuming that the driver of that truck pulled over somewhere and checked his cargo, and he saw what was taking place, and he bailed on it and just left them in there to die. As hot as it is in Texas, that's very, very viable. And and I'm telling y'all right now, every day we're hitting triple digits. You know, no skips, no stops. It rained for a little bit. It just rained yesterday, but that's just gonna make it more humid and muggy today. And it's to be stuck in a trailer, but these are the risks that they'll take to try to get to the United States because someone told them about the streets of gold and the gingerbread houses, all of the fairy tales that's told about the United States that make people want to come here and feel like they have a chance to make it. Can you imagine escaping from what you consider perilous threats and you risk your life in order to get away from those perilous threats. And as soon as you get away from those perilous threats into what you think is going to be your opportunity, you find yourself in a worse situation, or not, if not the same situation. Man, that would be so heart just crushing. That would destroy my heart in a million pieces, man. And so then you have to pick up from there and make do, and we see a lot of these human trafficking cases where the females are saying that they would rather, you know, risk life and limb to get out of the situation that they were in. And as they tell their story, they're usually telling it from the perspective of a current lady of the evening. If you don't know what lady of the evening is, that's just a upper scale way of saying prostitute. And so there's a whole lot of psychological trauma that's going to have to be addressed with this person, and so many layers that's going to have to be peeled back, so much rejection, so much everything that's going to have to be dealt with within this person in order for them to even think about starting to live a quality life. But just knowing that the possibility to do so is there makes them risk it all to come here. And I'm just trying to imagine how bad it is where they're coming from that they would just risk it like that. It's got to be crazy. I understand, like, in some cartels, they take over families, stuff, but our government does the same thing here. And they allow people to do the same thing here legally. The banks take over people's stuff. Um, any type of loan sharking agencies. Um, there's it's the same concept. It's just a different way of doing it because you're always going to be subject to the powers that be. And it just so happens that in Mexico, the powers that be are the cartels. They're the ones in government. They're the ones in local law enforcement. They've got everything covered for them to be able to do the things they do on such a large scale and get away with it. There's absolutely no way that the police are taking El Chapo away, and El Chapo people pull up, have a shootout with law enforcement, and force them to hand over uh, El Chapo. That's crazy. Could you imagine something like that happening here in the United States? Well, see, that's why they're flocking here. That is why they're risking it to get here because there's a more of an opportunity here than it is there. Even though you still face the chance of being shot down in the streets over drugs or being in the wrong place at the wrong time or any of these different scenarios that are taking place in the United States right now. And as bad as it is in the United States right now, people still see it as better than where they are. And this is something that we tend to forget sometimes. We get so caught up. I won't say we, I'll say me. I'm going to personalize this one because this one is for me right here. I get so caught up in how I see the country that I live in, that I protected, that I fought for, deteriorating before my eyes, that I forget that other places are deteriorating as well. We're not the only country that's suffering right now. It's just new to us because we're so used to the excessive lifestyle and all of the things that America affords to people and the things that we've been made famous around the world for. And so I'll take that for granted sometimes, and I forget that there are other places that are deteriorating as well. And so, even as bad as the United States is right now, there's some places that's worse, and they'll take their chance here. And I have to use these types of experiences to humble me sometimes because, all the junk that I talk about the United States, it is still one of the best places to live in the world. Um, and that's just a fact of the matter. I'm not saying that the United States is number one. It's the greatest. It absolutely is not. It's the stats show you that we're not number one. We're and in the area of education, we're horribly placed. Healthcare, we're horribly placed. Mental health, we're horribly well. That's encompassed in healthcare, but we've mental health, opioid problem, racial problem. Yeah, United States absolutely is not number one in many categories, and the categories that we usually are number one in are not the one that we're seeing in a favorable light. And so, yeah, we just have to be mindful of the people that are trying to get into this country, what they're coming from, because their level of desperation is going to push them to do and act out things that nobody would think, because this is life and death for them. It's not, I just want to have the luxuries of the United States. No, it's life and death situation for them. It's being under such an oppressive thumb that you can't breathe. We're complaining about gas prices over here. We're complaining about luxuries most of the time. We're not complaining about the bare necessities of life. We're not complaining about the basic needs, and when you have a people coming over here who aren't even getting the basic needs where they're from, then they're going to have a whole lot more motivation to come over here and make something than us. That's why we feel the way that we feel about immigrants, and they always say that little trouble. Well, they're coming in, they're taking our jobs. These are the jobs that most Americans don't want to do. Even the ones who are in the lower class and poverty areas, they feel they're too good to work certain jobs. And so when these immigrants come over here and say, I'll do anything, that's a pretty tough offer to beat when you're a person who lives in a country of excess and you have entitlements and you feel like as an American you're too good to do this, or whatever your cultural background or whatever leads you to believe that you're too good to do certain jobs. When you see someone else come in and fill that gap or fill that need, Why do you feel so salty and out of place when it's something you wouldn't do in the first place? So people have to understand, man, that the conditions that we are under, we take for granted oftentimes. I know I do. I ain't gonna lie. I do. But then reality comes and slaps me in the face and brings me back to a place of understanding. And I clear my head and I readjust myself. But I still am paying attention. I still feel the way I feel about the United States. My flag is still turned upside down because we are in a state of distress as a nation. And we need to work these things out before they get any worse. That's just how that's going to be. Um, but at the same time, I can say that anybody who risks their life to try to better themselves, man, should be given an opportunity. Now, I'm not saying that if they sneak in the country, we should just open up the floodgates and give them everything and stuff like that. No, we take them, make them go through the proper process. We take it's what they're doing at the border now, but you're always gonna have those that slip through the cracks. No system is perfect, and we're trying to create a utopia, which is never going to happen. The whole concept of a utopia is foolish because nobody is ever going to be satisfied. The flesh will never be satisfied, and trying to create a utopia has absolutely nothing to do with anything more than the flesh and carnal thinking. And so, in trying to create something like that, like I said, you may be able to please some, you may be able to appease others for a time being, but you'll never be able to create an environment where everybody is satisfied. And so the concept of a utopia is appealing, but it's not realistic. And so this is what is being painted to a lot of people that try to come here from other countries. This utopia, and we've got all of these opportunities, but there's other countries who have opportunities as well. They're just more strict in the enforcing of their laws. You never hear about immigrants running into China or I mean, well, you do. No, I take that back because what's the young lady named Sunmi Parks or something like that? She was a refugee from North Korea. She did escape into China, so I stand corrected on that. And she said that a lot of women, particularly, try to escape North Korea and they will sell themselves into prostitution to somebody in China in order to get out of North Korea. And the treatment isn't that much better, but you might luck up and get an opportunity to get to the United States. And this was her story. So, there's that hope that you can just make it. And there's a sense you get to a point of desperation that is so low and so extreme that you say, hey, I would rather die trying than to stay here and die doing nothing. Man, that's a hard place to be in, to have to make that decision. Just imagine that. And so when these people get here, and they see that, okay, well, yeah, it's not exactly what I was told, but I can see the opportunities. I can see, you know, um, the availability of everything that I've been looking for, the chances that I've been looking for. People here will give you an opportunity to save a buck. And that's all you need is that opportunity to get your foot in the door, show what you can do. And from there, that's one thing about Americans. If you do good work and a good time and you don't give them any problems, they will give you work and they will refer you to other people. And yeah, you can definitely build on that in the United States. Right now, I'm in Texas and it's summertime and there's a million landscapers around here, different landscaping companies, but the areas are so filled with people that you know everybody can have a business and thrive out here, and they do. They take that opportunity. A lot of the retired military veterans out here, that's what they'll go into. You've been in the military for all of those years, and then you get out, and you're only in your 40s, and you don't know what there is to do. So, a lot of these brothers and sisters will start their own lawn care service just so they have something to do. Because, the military pretty much takes care of its soldiers and stuff after your years of service. But you still don't want to sit around the house and be bored all day. So, they'll go and start up a lawn care service. And there's so much business around here that everybody eats well. Nobody's fighting over territories and stuff like that. And so, all of these opportunities are available without having to do paperwork. And you can cut out all of the yellow tape and just start up your business and go forth from there. And I see them come and do things like this all the time. San Antonio's Hispanic population is, you might as well, San Antonio, a lot of Texas is Mexico. Let's go ahead and put that out there. So while I'm talking about Mexico and crossing borders and stuff, let's acknowledge the real. And the real thing is the fact that Mexico should be most of Texas. Most of these places, San Antonio, San Marcos, um, all of the sands and all of the different L's around here is Mexico. They just took it. So I just wanted to clarify that while we're talking about Mexicans seeing this as a place to come to, and they're seeking refuge in a place that used to be theirs. And so, why would the United States not feel obliged to accommodate these people when it's the least they could do for taking their land? Same as they did the indigenous people of this country. Took their land and said, if you want to come on your land, then you have to come and go through all of this paperwork, and we have to do. But I understand the background check. I understand the paperwork. I do understand that because you don't want to let anybody and everybody in your country. That's how smugglers get here. That's how terrorists get here. That's how just like they said, the worst of the worst do get here. Now that is a fact. And that's not to say that all of the people that come through are the worst of the worst, because you do have people who are coming just seeking a better life, and they don't want to bother nobody. They just want to keep their head down and work and be able to take care of their family. That's it. But you do have those ones who would like to mingle and mix in the crowd and come through as well. So you do have to do a serious vetting process so that you can weed out the ones who are coming here to do harm. So I understand that. That's absolutely fine, and that's logical, and it makes absolute sense. But at the same time, you know, the whole idea of coming to the United States and making a better life, It's just like shooting craps right now. And for anybody out here who's seeking to get your citizenship in the United States, you might want to hold off on that for a little bit because the way things are going right now, a lot of Americans are starting to seek other places to go themselves. And being that Uganda just found 31 metric tons of gold up under their land and they're about to blow up, you might see a great exodus from the United States to Uganda. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know if it was Uganda. I know it was Ghana, and there were other areas in Africa who were trying to get Black African Americans to come to their area and buy a lot of that land that they had taken back from the white people who colonized their land years ago. They got all of this land back, and they were trying to get us to come over there. And when I say us, I mean African Americans with some money and buy land and build businesses so that they can have help in developing this newfound land into you know um, something profitable and something that was going to stimulate their economy and help their cities and their little towns to grow. And I don't know how many people really invested because there was definitely a lot of pitfalls that you were going to have to jump through. And there was a whole lot of loopholes as well. There was a lot of scammers out there who were making people think that they owned those properties and they actually didn't. And so if you didn't fly over there in person and you were one of the ones who tried to purchase land in those areas over the phone and over Skype and things like that, and a lot of people got scammed. And so there was a big deterrent from doing it after it came out that people were getting scammed and their money taken for land that they thought they were purchasing. And so I say all of that to say this, man. These look, Uganda just hit the jackpot. Everybody's looking at Uganda right now. We're not gonna play around like that's not like they're not paying attention and they're not cooking up a way to get their hands on some of that gold ore. 31 metric tons? Man, that's like a few $1 trillion worth of US currency. Do you realize how much that gold will change the market? And so, if they do it right, Uganda is about to be looking like one of those Saudi Arabian countries. A very wealthy place. If they do it right, then they're going to be looking like Dubai in no time. And so, man, people better start understanding that the United States is not appealing to Americans like it used to be. I heard Taraji P. Henson said that she's ready to move out of the United States. And there's a lot of other people of means who share the same sentiment because they don't feel safe in this country. What good is it to have the stardom and to have all of the glitz and the glamour but still be seen as a this or a that, and that you deserve to die by somebody who's suffering from mental illness, but still able to get their hands on an automatic weapon? And she brings up a valid point. You know, for the as much as we boast and all of this stuff, the United States is like, um, what's an analogy? What's an analogy? It's like being told that pizza is good, and then when you finally taste it, you're like, okay, it's all right, but it's not all that they made it out to be. It's like anything like that. People will hype something up and they will make it so great, and then you be so excited to experience it. And then when you actually experience it, you're like, okay, it's all right. It's like going to New York or going to Hollywood, and you have these great expectations because you've seen it on TV and you've seen it and it looks so exciting. And you get there, man, and it's dirty and dingy and dusty. And no, hey, no, shout out to New York and shout out to Hollywood. No disrespect to y'all, but I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of grungy. You know, I'm from DC and I know how DC look. So, I mean, it ain't no, it just is what it is. It just is what it is. Jersey the same way. It is what it is, man. Just need to get that taken care of. That's all. Just always something that's been a thing too, because DC has been dirty and grungy from when I was a kid. And that's just always been how it is. I don't know why those areas are like that. Maybe it's so busy, it's so much going on, nobody has the time to really stop and do a deep clean in those. I don't know, but those places just are what they are when it comes down to sanitation issues. And so let me get back on track, man. I've been on here for a good minute talking about this, and I feel like I've covered everything that I can think of that came into my mind about this issue. And there may be some things that you think of. So just pop on here, man, and leave me a message or anything that pop up in your mind. We can talk about it or whatever. But I'm about to get out of here, man. This is your boy D Mac. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.